Yes, this is Transcending Ego, published in 2001 and translated by Peter Roberts. So most likely Trangu Rinpoche, who doesn't speak English, was giving a talk, and Peter Roberts was transcribing that talk on this famous treatise of the third Karmapa, distinguishing consciousness from wisdom, discerning conditioned consciousness from unconditioned consciousness. So, can anybody here give me a practical example of discerning when we're in conditioning and when we're not? This is a little bit tougher question. Anybody who knows it, jump in. I don't care if you're a seasoned practitioner or a new practitioner. Give it a shot.
With that, oh yeah, exactly what I was going to say. I think noticing contraction in the mind and body, and then noticing that how it releases.
Mhm. Very good. Mark is another one. Very happy to be around these realized beings in this group. You all are speaking that Dzogchen. So this is it, very simple. Look, I think he used less than 10 words. Um, there's this contraction that happens if we get hurt, if we get anxious. Um, there's a somatic congestion that takes place. There's a psychophysical constraint. And when you can see that, maybe tune into your lips and your jaw right now, everybody. We can see when tension is hiding in our experience from the lips and the jaw. So right now, if I tune into my lips and my jaw, pretty relaxed, maybe a little bit of tension in the lips. Anybody in the gathering today find tension in the lips and the jaw? Very good, very good. It can be subtle. It's not a bad thing. Remember, it's not a bad thing. Oh yeah, Ozel, if you can, just take 5 minutes or so to breathe mindfully and allow that back stuff to release, because the back stuff can cause injuries. It can cause you lots of problems. People get surgeries when all they need to do is remove their brain. You don't need surgery on your back, you need surgery on your brain. But really, if you could just relax your neck and back, you won't need that. A lot of cases, you won't need that surgery. Hmm. Yeah, lobotomy. That's what the alternative is. So, this somatic contraction can happen throughout your body. It happens in your stomach a lot too. Uh, the nervous system is so intricate, right? And so, very good. We're getting into that. Yeshe, let's reread the primary conditions. I, my mind was somewhere else yesterday. It was so interesting. So, the primary condition actually is not the mental consciousness, although it highly involves the mental consciousness. I want to get a little bit more precise with the explanation here, and Trangu Rinpoche is going to give you the best explanation. But anybody remember what the primary condition is? It's the objects themselves. Masam, did you have it? Okay, you get the -10 karma points then, okay? Because I think you had it. Yeah, it's the objects themselves. So, yeah, they're appearing as external, but because of that mental consciousness woven in, it's all mind. Because remember, the previous sections of this text talked about how everything is mind, and that's why we want all phenomenon to be in our meditation. We want sights and sounds. And, how are you interacting with the sound? Is it bothering you? Is it making you happy? Is it making you calm? So just bringing everything into our meditation is what we can do. Allow constantly. Yeah, so Rangjung Dorje is saying in the 14th stanza, their primary conditions are the six sensory objects, which are clarity endowed with form. So you have everybody pick an object right now. Everybody in the gathering, all 25 of you, are invited, anyway, if you're comfortable, to pick an object. For me, it's a mala. I'll pick a mala. Now, do you have an object? Everybody, yes. Is your mind there with this object or not? Oza, I thought that was you for a second. You scared me. I don't know what happened to Oza. So, is your mind, look, you don't have to keep it in your hand necessarily, but is your mind with the object? Yes or no? It is, right? If you pick another object, is the same mind with that object? The same mind is there, right? If I put this mala in this hand, the same mind is there. Okay, very good. Now we know. Now we have that. This is this is how cognition can be omnipresent and omniscient. Oh, Elliot, you got an object? That's a pine cone. Those are very sacred. You know, they represent for some people the pineal gland. I don't know too much about that. What's going on, Elliot? Little mini tuku over there.
Shows anymore.
What happened?
I'm not watching any shows anymore.
You're not watching shows anymore?
No, pine cone.
Oh, that's a pine cone. That's a good one. That's a big old pine cone.
Yeah. We're gonna make something out of this.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So we do have a question here. Why do they call it primary condition? I feel a bit unqualified to answer that in the face of Rangjung Dorje and Trangu Rinpoche, who are like super Dharma people. um, my only guess is because without that sense object, we couldn't have anything else. So, in the beginning of the 12 links of dependent origination, there's ignorance and then fabrications. So, the fabrications are the mental objects. That's why I say it's a kind of inbreeding, because you're falling in love with your own mind. But anyway, these mental objects are the primary condition for everything else to happen, right? All right. So let's see if it gets answered. It'll probably get answered here. It says the primary condition or the main cause for perception are the sensory organs. Okay, the primary condition was defined as the sense objects. If we go back up to the four, let's go back up, Yeshe. I just want to go back up. If you can find the four conditions that make up our reality. Keep going. Okay, depends on four conditions. The objective condition, which is the sense objects. All right. The primary conditions, which is the sense organs. All right. So we have a little bit. Now you can go back to the stanza. So in the stanza, it says it's the sense objects. So, excuse me, we got that wrong. The primary conditions are the six sensory objects. They must have been referring to the organs, not objects. It threw me off there. So the objective condition, the first of the four, are the objects themselves. The primary conditions are the organs themselves. Okay? All right. Apologize for any confusion, but we're getting it. Yeah, but it should make sense. Clarity endowed with form. Form typically refers to phenomenon, like with all translators for the past decades, they've been translating phenomenon or appearances into form. No one ever translates sensory organs into form, although they are form. Um, so we're getting into it anyway. To me, the object, for example, we all picked an object. The mala, that's form. The eyeball, though, is form too, actually. But anyway, the mala would be the objective condition. That makes sense because it's objective, it's an object. And then the primary condition would be the organ itself. And both of those are endowed with clarity, right, Dorje? Clarity is endowing both of those. You agree or no?
Yes.
I can't see you if huh?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, very good. Um, but here you see how the translation can throw us off. We have the first of the four that says an objective condition are the sense objects, the propane tank, the toolbox, the bucket. Those are objects. But here in the stanza, it says the primary conditions are the six sensory objects instead of sensory organs. Since you're calling it objects, you're making it sound like it's the first of the four conditions. At least to me, okay? And that's how we got confused, everybody. The choice of clarity, I read as Sambokakaya. Yes, I would agree. So, a little bit of translation nuances that could throw people off here. It says the primary condition or the main cause for perception are the sensory organs. These are often taken to be the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. But the sensory faculties are not the actual physical sense organs themselves. Rather, the Abhidhamma, which describes the elements of mind in great detail, says that the senses are actually the basis of the organs. As Rangjung Dorje says, which are clarity endowed with form. Clarity, or luminosity, is the faculty of knowingness and shows the sense faculties have the power to perceive. Jamgon Kongtrul explains the actual physical form of these faculties according to Tibetan medicine. Yeah, this again is, we're having translation issues. I believe the translator, Peter Roberts, could be strongly rooted in Sutra, whereas Rangjung Dorje is coming with Dzogchen stuff. So there's a little bit, we're getting twisted up here a little bit because now we're going to have Rangjung Dorje describing the Sambhogakaya sense organs, the energy body sense organs. Remember, your ear has a physical look to it, but if you were to take the ear away, the whole body away, there would still be a hearing consciousness, which sort of has a look to it. It has a shape to it. All right, like almost like you could write in the sky. It has a very light shape to it, a subtle shape to it that we cannot necessarily see at first or perceive or know about. We can only see the cartoon, the physical, whatever our brain is allowing us to construct and see. But anyway, to me there's some conflation happening here with these terms. But it says the sensory faculty of the nose is like a knot in white birch, like a hole shaped similar to an ear. The sensory faculty of the ear is like a row of very fine copper needles. See, they're talking about the actual consciousness, which is on that threshold from the invisible to the visible. It's just like your nervous system gets so fine that it turns invisible. It gets so small, smaller than a hair. and it's like that union, that bridge between the invisible and the visible. Really fascinating stuff. And it says the sensory faculty of the tongue is like a moon split in half and laid on the tongue. Sensory faculty of the body is said to be smooth and permeates the entire body except for the hair and nails. Thus, the six consciousnesses arise as a result of the six sensory objects and six sense faculties. Together, they add up to the 18 constituents of perception, in Sanskrit, the ayatanas, which are responsible for the appearances arising in the three realms. Okay, now we have the three spheres of conception there, the subject, action, object, and that right there can be very useful because we tend to contract into those spheres. They're electromagnetic, right? Spheres of contraction or isolation, dimensions that we isolate ourselves into. And that's why the spheres of conception or the great sphere of the Dharmadhatu, these are important points that could complement your realization, because when you're discerning conditioning from unconditioned consciousness, then you are locked into one of those spheres, okay? If I'm thinking a lot, I'm worried about what's going to happen later, I'm locked into one of those spheres. So I'm imprisoned. That's a psychic jail cell, isn't it? But it's round, so it's better than square. But you are in the bars of your own constructs, right? Self-imposed prison cell. That's why um, governments and kingdoms and everything, they like to work on people's minds. If they get your mind, they don't need to build any walls. You will build the walls for them, actually. Quite literally in some cases. We live in small little apartments and get our big screen TV and our comfortable sofa. And we have all the food in the world, and uh, we're in a happy little prison. If you can shake your patterns up, everybody, what you do on a regular basis, shake it up by going somewhere else, doing something different sometimes. And this conditioning has so many people, and it gets them for decades. For long times, people get isolated into their own minds for various reasons. All right, well, thank you, Yeshe. We made it through this section. I feel a lot better about it this time. Thank you so much for redoing that. And then thank you, everyone in the gathering. By the way, somebody in the comments, hi, David, was saying that Yeshe came up with a ridiculous title for the last video, because that Yeshe didn't come up with that. Longchenpa came up with that. Let's be clear. Yeshe's just typing what Longchenpa said. So anyway, the title was, "If you believe in progress, you're never gonna wake up." And they said that's ridiculous. There's got to be progress. Excuse me. To me, I totally empathize, because if you haven't seen the nature of mind, if you haven't seen awareness, of course it sounds ridiculous. And Longchenpa also says that. Can you believe it? He says to people who haven't seen the view, it's going to sound ridiculous. So we have already planned for that. So it's very simple, though. If you have a constant belief of progress in your mind, you're never going to get here. You're never going to be here in the presence. So there is the appearance of progress, but that doesn't mean you need to subscribe to progress or believe that it's happening, right? There is the appearance of progress when we're temporally inclined, yes. All right, anyway, shout out to our friend David. And thank you in the gathering today. It's another wonderful gathering of, I totally venerate you all. Every day I learn to be more skillful with the group and with the Dharma. And I hold you all above my head. You all are sincere practitioners worthy of that praise. So thank you so much for it. And I was also saying, very awesome that you're responding even to the comments. Well, certain comments, I'll give you a hint. If you mess with people in the Sangha, you might get a response out of me. Hi, little bear. Good morning. Good morning, little bear. If they mess with that little bear, they get a response, huh? Good morning, buddy. He's so precious. All right. He's gonna argue with me again. No, David seems like a really cool person, but that's not the first time David has made the comment on our videos. Last time it was about how effortlessness is ridiculous. How can there be effortlessness? And to me, it's awesome that you're contending with these things. That's your logical mind saying, "What the heck is going on here?" Oh, no hate whatsoever, but no hate. But we do debate and we fact check in here with a smile. Okay.